Aloha and welcome back. This is part 4 in a series about basic implementation of MODX on your website. So last video in part number 3, we took the website and we broke it into chunks, and so we had kind of like common chunks going on. We then took the chunks and placed TVs or template variables inside of them. You can see I kind of just filled the rest of them out there. And yeah, so we did that to the blue area and to the gray area, expecting to make these 3 areas template variables. But after looking at the site and just kind of strategizing for a second, I realized that what I wanted to do is I'm going to go ahead and make these a getResources call. And so this tutorial is going to be about how to use getResources and what that looks like inside MODX. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to make these like pages or blog posts or portfolio pieces or anything. Just something that would continue to grow, pages that would continue to be populated and built out. And so we're going to be displaying the 3 most recent posts or portfolio projects right here in this section. And so to do that, what we're going to do inside of MODX is I've created an endorsements actually container. And so how you do that is just you create a page by clicking the new resource or create resource, and then in the settings you basically just label it a container. There's nothing to it, it's just for organization purposes in the back end. So what I've done is I've made that a container, and you can see it's even using the base template. It's not published, nothing about it special. But I have created 6 or 5 projects or blog posts or whatever you want to call them underneath, and or featured stories, I guess, whatever. And those are actually using a new endorsements template that I've created. And so let's go look at that endorsements template. It's basically the right-hand sidebar template from our static code. So it's that right-hand sidebar code that I've just popped right in here, and then I've done those MODX changes. I've basically just put the header in there, the footer and the blue footer, and that's it. That's all I've done inside of that. Okay, so you can see how simple that is. Yeah, basically that's it. So that being said, we are going to now start stacking up these resources inside and make those the resources that populate on our home page. Now, if you click on them, you would most likely be able to get to these pages somehow through the navigation, of course, but we're featuring them in some sort of highlighted area or a blog roll. So when you click on it, you go to the page, and I've basically just taken that static code and popped it in and placed those chunks in there with, so there's nothing special about that. And the only thing that I've done that's a little bit different is somewhere near the top I put in this highlight image tag. So I created a TV called highlight image, and it allowed me in the back end in my template variables. So I do have a title, but I'm not implementing it yet. And but we could do that real quick. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll take this, and we're just gonna do this and say highlight title, I believe is what it was called, right? Yeah, highlight title. And so you can see over here it's called babies, and hopefully now when I refresh, one of these up here will say babies. There it is, babies. Okay, so now we have 2 things being pulled in. Two parts being pulled in to the page itself, and so yeah, that's really easy. And of course you can see all of these things are ripe for the picking in MODX. We could do all sorts of different stuff. If this was a blog post, we could put a bunch of other blog posts down here and go to the archives. Here's our content, right? Here's some sorted blog posts. Here's some possible template variables that we would stack up. And then we're back to our chunked areas, right? And so that's basically all that's happening in there. And so now what we want to do is we want to do the getResources call over on our home page. So over on our home page, our home page template, if you scroll down, you can see I've already implemented the getResources call, and I'm just going to go through what's happening right now. First and foremost, what I've done is Let's look at it in the static code first and foremost. Here we go. So this is the highlights wrapper inside of our static code, and you can see that you have the wrapper right there. You have the everything down into the row itself. Okay, we're working with kind of a framework here or something, I suppose. And so down into the row, and then you have these div classes, which are the 1, 2, and 3 pictures inside, or sections inside, represented, back on the home page, here, here, and here. So we got three spots, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this and the closing divs that correspond to it. I'm going to leave. Basically, in essence, what I'm doing is I'm leaving out all this. So I'm deleting all that, okay? And I'm just taking the code that surrounds it, and I've plopped it into my home page. So you can see there I've plopped it in, and then I've created my getResources call. And the reason I've done that is because inside the getResources call, I've created this gray highlights template, and TPL is the call that basically tells it to use a certain template as the structure. And so this is your loop basically right here. Once it gets here, it's going to loop through and say, for every one that's made that fill these distinctions or these different parameters, go loop through and find them and bring them back. And so it's going to say find parent 5. Parent 5 is our container we've created. It's going to say go 1 in the depth, so we can see we're nested in 1. That means if I created something nested inside of Adidas for men, like I put pants and jackets and shoes inside of Adidas for men, it would only stick to these outside parameters, okay? And so that's kind of interesting. That's cool to be able to limit the depth of it. We're saying limit 3. So you can see right now I have 3 over on my home page. But I actually have 5 up in my resource tree. So if I change that to 5 and just press save real quick and went back, you'd see it immediately would flop to 5. Okay, and so that's how easy it is to manipulate the getResources call just by adding those few things. It completely changes everything up. We have that template it's calling, and these things are basic right here, including the content if you want the content to be included, TVs, processing the TVs, showing anything that's hidden. This is actually the menu index makes it so I can sort these. Just by dragging them and dropping them. So if I do that and it lights up, now what we should see up here is it should go back to 3 and I should see duplicate right here. Boom, duplicate. Actually, I limited it to 5 again. So we want to go back to 3 and boom, duplicate is our second one. All right, so the minute I drag duplicate down to the 3rd spot and it blinks blue like that is when we have duplicate jumped to the 3rd spot. So that's how just sorting them by the menu index, okay, up here in the menu. And then we are right now sorting them ascending. We can also do that by descending if we wanted, so from newest to oldest or oldest to newest. It's up to you, it's your prerogative. So that's a basic getResources call. A little bit more than basic, actually. It's including a few things. But now let's go ahead and look at that gray highlights TPL, which is TPLs are chunks, okay? So they're reusable bits of code that can get pulled in through that kind of looping action. So when I click on gray highlights, we'll see what happens inside of this. And so there it is. We have that same code that we had back in our static code, okay? One of these divs containing the section and the UL and all that good stuff. The only difference is in this one, in this bit of code, I've included the highlight image. That's a TV that I've made, and you guessed it, it's an image, that I upload. The page title that comes stock on the page itself, so page title. I've also got the content, and I've got an ID down here for the button to lead to, okay? I probably want to take this ID, it looks kind of crazy, but what it's doing is it's dynamically finding the ID of the page inside of this loop, and it's processing it, okay? So I have it up there on the title as well. It's going to find that highlight image, or the image, and then be able to link it there too. And so something interesting you'll find here on this code is something you won't find anywhere else, and that's these plus symbols, okay? So the plus symbols, instead of calling this template variable like that with a regular asterisk, we're going to call it with the plus symbol. And we also have to call it to annotate that it's a template variable, dot, and then the name of the template variable. You can see even the IDs, instead of doing an asterisk, you would do you're doing now the plus symbol. Page title would usually just get the asterisk, it's getting the plus symbol, and the same thing for the content. The plus symbol is basically telling it that they really work in conjunction with getResources calls. Okay, so this template right here, this TPL, this chunk, specifically being made to be used and processed through the getResources call. And this plus symbol tells it not only that bit of information, but to find the content from the page that's getting pulled in and not from the page that it's ending up on. Okay, so you can kind of see that this would be the child pages, or the pages that it's getting pulled from the information, and then it's getting pulled into the home page. Okay, so if I just put regular content here with an asterisk, I would get the content from the home page. Okay, it would just say, I think we just wrote the word home inside there, right? So when we scroll up, we just see, or the word hello. I would just get the word hello typed into my title 3 times. I get hello, 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 because it would be grabbing that content instead of the content from the page itself. So plus symbol is important. Once we do that, it's basically on. It happens, and it just goes ahead and it's going to pull all of those resources in. And so really at that point, it's just how you want to style it. Do you want to allow for 3 or 6 or 9? You just style it at that point. So that's super duper easy, and that is it. Now all the images should lead to the page itself. Beautiful. The titles don't lead anywhere right now. We should have fixed that. The Learn More button leads there, and then we're just pulling, the content or whatever in from that. So, and you could do it again however you want to build it, 10, 15, 20 different ways most likely. This is just one way of using the getResources call. So that's it for now. Next one we'll be doing is the MODX tutorial, where we'll basically be making these customized template variables to the MODX package and making them repeating, so I can add as many as I want. So what will happen is, before, what we had in this template was 2, 4, 6, 8 of these things stacked up, and I've removed some of them out in preparation for the next tutorial. But we'll be able to include these in, or add these in by the pair. So you can have 2, you can have 4, you can have 6, 8, 10, as many as your heart desires, and we can do that and drag and drop them and sort them in order using MODX. So we'll see you next time. Aloha.